Welcome to Airplay Escape. Please consider subscribing to my Patreon account for the full audiobook. Thank you for your support. Football, the strongest center in history, Episode 41, Coach, I want to play as a starter. Ronaldo, of course, did not know that Bar's youth team had also been harassed by the media because of his performance. His life is busy and simple now, every day is training. Whether on the training ground or in the system's super training ground. At most, talk to your new friends about where to go next time. Ariela often brags in front of him about what is fun in Paris, which nightclubs have the best girls, which nightclubs have the most fun. This made Ronaldo envious. But he can only envy. Because there are many places he can't go. Because he has no money. It's also a shame to say, although he played for the first team and scored goals. But his contract is still a youth team contract. The weekly salary is €600. Such a salary. In a team like Paris, it's already a low exaggeration. Take the example of the young centre-back Sacco, who is only 21 years old and now earns €80,000 a week, after tax. People earn more in a week than Rona in half a year. But that doesn't help. A month ago, Ronaldo thought that it would be nice to join the team. As for the salary, I really didn't care much. And the contract was printed in French. Ronaldo is still stumbling in French, let alone back then. So, when Bar explained to him how much money he could make a week, he was quite happy. €100 a Saturday, equivalent to almost 6,000 yuan. In a month, that's 24,000. In China, how many people earn 24,000 a month at the age of 18? Being able to get this money, Ronaldo felt good at that time. He doesn't think so now. His current salary is the lowest in the first team. This little money, life is enough. But to go out and be dashing every 3 to 5, it is far from enough. The last time it was Ari who stayed up late to entertain, that's okay. However, you can't go out to play in the future, let others invite you, right? Ronaldo thought to himself. When Lao Tzu scores more penalties, he must talk to the club about the contract. Fortunately, he only signed a 1-year contract. If he is not satisfied with Paris Saint-Germain's contract, he has played a famous role and can leave at any time. I am not a diehard fan of Grand Paris for 30 years, and I have to play for Grand Paris. He plays football not only because he likes to play football, but more importantly, it's about making money. Make good money. In addition to training. Ronaldo is still looking forward to one more thing this week. That was Friday's Europa League match. Paris Saint-Germain finished 4th in Ligue 1 last season, so they can only play one Europa League playoff round, beating their opponents over 2 legs home and away before qualifying for the Europa League. Although the Europa League is not a Champions League, it is also a Continental Cup event in Europe. Ronaldo is still quite interested in this event. This time, Paris Saint-Germain's opponent is Luschanben's league champions Devers on the day. For Paris Saint-Germain, this team is not strong, so it is quite simple for Paris to pass this round of playoffs. So, Ronaldo expects the manager to use some substitutes on a large scale in this game. Therefore, Ronaldo is still a little bottomless about whether he can start or not. On the mission logbook, he has received a new assignment, starting twice in a row, for the first team. If there is no start for the Europa League playoffs this time, wouldn't it be? Do you have to delay the completion of the task by yourself for a while? Ronaldo can't wait to advance to the 3rd season and gain another skill point. He knew that he had too few weapons in his arsenal now. In case it is restricted, for example, if you can't cross on the side, your own power will be greatly reduced. This is something that Ronaldo can't stand. Ronaldo is not very fond of passivity. So he decided to take the initiative to attack out. After training, he was directly confronted by head coach Camber. Do you want to start in the Europa League playoffs? Camber frowned. To be honest, he didn't want to start Ronaldo. Because Kevin Gamero has not yet returned from injury, coupled with Ronaldo's wonderful performance in the last game, it helped the team to 3 points. In Camber's view, Ronaldo was the team's main striker, at least during the time of Kevin Gamero's injury. Wouldn't it be a waste of his fitness to let him play in a game like the Europa League playoffs? Yes, Mr. Coach, Ronaldo considered his tone. First of all, I need to run in with my teammates on the court more to develop the feeling of play, and secondly, my fitness is completely fine, and you have seen my fitness test. Camber thought for a while, and then said, yes, I can play you as a starter. But Ronaldo was overjoyed. Don't worry, coach. I'm sure to score 2 or 3 goals to put the suspense to the end of the game in the first leg. Camber was stunned. And then it was kind of funny. This stunned boy. If it weren't for his good temper, he would probably have blasted him out when he met a coach with a bad temper. How to use people is a matter for the head coach. There's room for players to beak. What's more, it was Ronaldo who had just been transferred from the youth team. Episode 42, Goal Mission? Overdone. Getting the answer from Camboire made Ronaldo extremely excited. After coming out of him, Ronaldo returned to the dormitory to continue training at the super training ground. However, as soon as he entered the system, he saw Xiao Luo shaking his head at him. What's wrong? Ronaldo was a little strange. Take a look at the mission log yourself. Ronaldo hurriedly opened the task panel to see. On the task panel. Except for that starting 2 games in a row mission. There is also an additional red task. Do you know what the red mission means? Meaning. It's a lot of difficulty to complete, Xiao Luo said with some gloating. I'm Nima. After Ronaldo saw the mission requirements, he was immediately dumbfounded. Legend of the Europa League, score at least 3 goals against Diver. In other words, it takes a hat trick. Is this something that a hat trick for a striker comes out of nowhere? Even if the opponent's strength is not strong, but Ronaldo knows. Whether you can score 3 goals, in addition to strength, luck is also very important. Otherwise, even if the real Ronaldo comes, it is impossible to say that you can enter 3 into 3. No wonder this task is red level. What the? How did this task come about? You said it yourself? I said it myself? Ronaldo thought about it and immediately remembered the previous conversation with Camber. He was indeed happy, and said with a big mouth that he was going to score 2 or 3 goals. But he didn't expect that it would actually form a task. So, don't promise indiscriminately, otherwise if you can't complete it, you will deduct experience. Xiao Luo had a gloating smile on his face. However, the good news is that missions of red difficulty will also have rich rewards. Like this? Ronaldo touched his chin. Isn't it just scoring 3 goals? It's a challenge. Then Lao Tzu accepted it. And as Cambuer promised, Ronaldo did make the starting list for the day against Diver. On the way to Luxembourg, Camber announced the starting lineup. A large number of substitutes for this game, 2 young players transferred from the youth team, were also selected for the squad for this game. Left-back Kimpembe, as well as midfielder Rabiot, are all in the starting lineup. The 2 were old acquaintances with Ronaldo when they were in the youth team. There is also the team's number 2 goalkeeper, Ronaldo's new friend Ariela, who is also the starting goalkeeper for this game. There are a few acquaintances in the starting lineup, and it is still good for Ronaldo to score goals. After checking in at a local hotel, Ronaldo was told by Kimpembe and Rabiot to dress himself in the sky. I won't waste your passes, you know, a few more assists will be very good for you. Ronaldo patted the 2 on the shoulder and promised to take them out to see the nightlife of Paris when the time came. The 2 underage boys were stunned and nodded frequently, and at the same time yearned for the Parisian girl promised by Ronaldo. And they know it. If you make your first team debut with an assist, it's a big plus for yourself. Therefore, the 2 agreed that they would definitely pass the ball to big brother Ronaldo well during the game. From the very beginning of the game, Camber found that Ronaldo looked particularly excited today, not that Ronaldo was not excited before, but that the excitement of this game was a little too much. In the box, Ronaldo repeatedly jumped up and headed the goal. Some angles that weren't too good to score, he also chose to score with a header. If it weren't for this time under the suppression of Ronaldo, the opposing defender did not dare to pop up at all. He would have wanted to criticize Ronaldo. Is it because you want to score goals too much? Shouldn't it? Cambuer was a little puzzled. However, Ronaldo on the field is more and more courageous. It had only been 10 minutes since the game began, and Diver was already out of breath that day. The other party's number 69 high school forward is really terrifying. He kept smashing the ball into the goal. It's true. Smash into the goal. Continuous physical confrontation is very intense on the physical consumption of the players. But looking at the appearance of the big man, it seems that he has not been affected in the slightest. In fact, Ronaldo knows that time is the biggest enemy when it comes to completing a hat trick in a game. Get your first goal as soon as possible. 15th minute of the game. Kimpembe received the ball on the left. Then Ronaldo was seen raising his hand in the box for the ball. He didn't hesitate and went straight to the box. Good ball. Ronaldo secretly praised, and then gave the defender behind him a physical confrontation, no open hands, no elbows or feet, just a squeeze and collision of the torso, which was not a foul at all, just a reasonable collision. But the opposing defender just hit like this, and was knocked a little dizzy. When he reacted, he saw Ronaldo jumping in the air. The lion shakes its head. The football flew into the goal without suspense this time. After scoring the goal, Ronaldo was even more excited, plus the opponent's strength is really not strong. In the following game, Ronaldo scored 2 consecutive headers in the 31st and 37th minutes. Before the first half was over, he finished his hat trick. This task is completed. Eventually, when the game is over, Paris Saint-Germain won 5-0. Ronaldo scored his 4th goal in the 63rd minute of the second half to stage his big 4. Subsequently, he was replaced. Episode 43, Upgrade. Maximize your advantages. Paris' 5-0 win away directly took the suspense out of the second leg for both sides. In France, the news is not very enthusiastic. After all, for Paris Saint-Germain, is there anything good to write about winning a Luxembourg fish belly? The only thing worth mentioning is that Ronaldo, the young player who scored in Ligue 1 last time, played his senior year in this match. This speaks volumes about Ronaldo as a center forward with a very good sense of goal. A center striker, regardless of his skill at his feet, the highest standard of evaluation is to score. Ronaldo's first 2 professional matches, scoring 5 goals. It can be said that it has had a very good start. At this time, there is still not much information about Ronaldo in China, but the news of his senior year in the Europa League playoffs has also made the domestic craze about Ronaldo more enthusiastic. It's just that all this doesn't affect Ronaldo for the time being. On the plane back to Paris, Ronaldo entered the system. The task of starting 2 consecutive games has been completed, and 1,000 experience points have been gained. The task of scoring at least 3 goals in a single game has also been completed, with 5,000 points of experience. Add up 6,000 experience, and you need 3,000 experience to upgrade. Upgrade before the next game starts. Ronaldo made up his mind. The next match is Toulouse away. There are still 4 days left until the race. Ronaldo can get about 700 points of experience from training every day these days. 4 days, 3,000 experiences. The clock is still pressing. But Ronaldo is confident of getting it done. He intends to continue to improve the skill of Airmaster. At this stage, his strongest weapon is the header, and the cost performance of improving the header is the highest for the time being. If you point the empty boss to the full level, then the goal rate of his header will be very exaggerated. Ronaldo doesn't care much about the 18-man roster anymore. Anyway, there are only a few forwards in the team, and Kevin Gamero will definitely be on the roster before returning from injury. And he also believes that neither Varro nor Lujuang can squeeze him in the starting competition. These days, Ronaldo stayed at the training base with peace of mind. Train with the team during the day and train at the super training ground at night. Both sides of the training can brush experience. So Ronaldo was very desperate. In order to upgrade as quickly as possible, he even extended his daily training time by an hour. Fortunately, the super training ground has a function that can return blood, otherwise he would not be able to stand it even if he had a bear-like body. Ordinary people practice like this, sooner or later they will practice their bodies to waste. But Ronaldo has a system, and that's his biggest strength. During this time, he was in contact with the technology under his feet. Mainly ball protection and shooting. As a center forward, you still have to have basic foot ability. He also knows what his weaknesses are. Now you can score with a header, because the opponent doesn't pay enough attention to himself. When the opponent focuses on his head, it is difficult to score. A good header can also be done for teammates, but Ronaldo is not satisfied with that. He had to develop more weapons. Almighty center. This is Ronaldo's goal. Only headers. This is too weak. The day before heading to the away stadium, Ronaldo has upgraded. When he saw that a little skill point to be assigned appeared on the system, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. After several days of high-intensity brushing, although the body is not tired, mental fatigue is inevitable. Fortunately, it is now a hard work. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately raised the skill of the air boss to the 3rd level. Airmaster, LV3, skill description: when you jump up in the air, your judgment of the landing point, and even the confrontation of the body will rise a notch. At the same time, the success rate of the header attack will increase by 30%, and the success rate will increase with the level. The skill level is capped at level 5. As long as it is a header in the box, the shooting percentage is at least 30%. This is simply a bug. If you can raise the level to the 5th level, the ability to head your own ball is probably the first in the world. Ronaldo looked at this Airmaster skill and was very much looking forward to the time when he reached the full level of the 5th level. He didn't plan to order other skills before the air boss skill reached the level, greedy and chewy. Since heading is your biggest advantage now, let's strengthen this advantage to the limit. Episode 44 is just the first release. That big guy is the number 69 who scored against Valenciennes. At this moment, the Paris Saint-Germain squad has arrived in Toulouse to prepare for the 4th round of the Ligue 1 Lindsay season with Toulouse FC in the 2011-2012 season. Paris Saint-Germain away to Toulouse. Toulouse is an established Ligue 1 team that has been in the middle and lower reaches of Ligue 1 all year round. Toulouse have always had a good home record, so Paris Saint-Germain are also very cautious about this away game. The night before the match, they arrived at Toulouse's home stadium, the Toulouse Municipal Stadium. The Toulouse Municipal Stadium is not too big, with 35,000 in the stands, which is enough for a small and medium-sized team like Toulouse. At the moment, sitting in the stands watching Paris Saint-Germain train are Toulouse coach Casanova, and his two assistants, tactical coach Giacomo, and intelligence-gathering analyst Holsdom. Judging by the size, it should be him. Holsdom, an intelligence analyst who specializes in collecting information on opponents, nodded and said. But. Casanova frowned. Judging from the training during this time, his level is very average. Indeed it is. As long as he doesn't practice with headers, Ronaldo's performance makes it feel like he is not worthy of a team like Paris Saint-Germain. Fortunately, his teammates are actually used to it. As you know, when the manager uses Ronaldo, he uses his header. But outsiders don't know it. Therefore, seeing Ronaldo, who performed mediocre in training, they will be confused. Is it the Greater Paris after being acquired by Qatari tycoons? There is so much money that there is nowhere to spend, looking for such rookies to waste salaries? From the last game, this big man headed well. Another assistant coach, Giacomo, said. But look at him, he can't even hold the ball. Holsdom shook his head and said, it seems that the focus of our game is still mean and pastor. These two are the core of the opponent's attack. Casanova nodded, and he stood up. I don't think it's necessary to look at it. The most threatening in Paris is mean and pastor. By the way, then Nene should also pay attention. As for this number 69. Casanova shook his head. He felt that the other party was too mediocre. Although the goal was scored in the last game, it does not say anything. As for the Europa League playoff goals, a weak brigade from Luxembourg, it is also normal to crush by the body. However, this is League 1. The number 69 looks like he's just heading the ball. Don't be afraid. In fact, Combuer didn't have to guess and knew that the opposing manager would be watching their training from the stands. Therefore, when stepping on the field, he will not arrange any set-piece tactical drills. He simply arranged the team's ball training to make the players feel like playing on this grass. Adapt to the site. There is nothing secret about such training, and the other party cannot spy on any intelligence. As for tactical training, he had arranged for the team before he came to Toulouse. And Ronaldo, although he is practicing shooting hard, has also improved. However, there is still a gap between him and a certain center forward. Therefore, Casanova looks away normally. After the afternoon training, the team took the bus back to their hotel. After dinner, Combuer called for a tactical meeting. According to the rules, the starting list is announced at this meeting. That's the big thing. However, Ronaldo is not worried about losing the starting lineup. These days, he is on the side of the main group, and no one can threaten his position. So, of course, he was once again selected as a starter. The rest of the players were not surprised by the result. Some people have even begun to wonder what choice Combuer would make if Kevin Gamero returned. Although Kevin Gamero is famous. However, when he was on the floor, the team did not win. After Ronaldo became the starter, the team won 2 games and worked well. That said, the winning team doesn't change. Perhaps, when Kevin Gamero returns, it is not possible to give Ruashing more substitutes. Ronaldo himself did not think about this. He is more focused on the moment. As long as he can continue to score, he is not afraid that Camber will not use himself. And what he cares about is the task of his system. On the task log, another task is swiped out. For the first time in a professional game. The difficulty of this task is not high. But Ronaldo felt that he would have to wait to finish. In the first 2 games, he was replaced in the second half. I don't know if this match, will Combuer let play the whole game? Episode 45, Double Bag Clip is useless. Toulouse's head coach Casanova's eyes widened at the moment. He looked at what was happening on the pitch with some incredulity. The score on the field was still 0-0, but at this time, his team's backline is being ravaged. Since winning 2 games in a row, Paris Saint-Germain have made up their minds to hit Ronaldo's head. Once they have the ball, they have the opportunity to send it over Ruachando's head to make the most of his header. And Ronaldo? He had the opportunity to score with his own header. If the chances are not good, he ferries the ball to his teammates. However, as long as he is in the small penalty area, he rarely passes the ball to his teammates, and chooses to direct the header to the goal. Although this is somewhat unique. But he has a unique truth. The Skymaster skill gave him a 30% success rate. That 30% success rate doesn't mean he has a 30% goal rate. It's his success rate in putting the ball up to the goal. On the football field, shooting the ball within the goal frame is usually considered a successful attack. But whether you can score a goal depends on the performance of the opposing goalkeeper. At this time, in the stands, Toulouse fans were worried about their team's backline. Every time Ronaldo jumped in front of the door, they were shocked. The game went on for 25 minutes. The Toulouse defenders were starting to run out of breath. They feel tired. Can you not get tired? Every defense has to jump at full strength, and at the same time fight Ronaldo, stop him, interfere with him, just prevent him from scoring goals. So far, although the score is still 0-0. But these defenders themselves don't know how long they can hold out. Toulouse centre-back Fofana let out a long breath after defending another Parisian attack. The game had only been about 20 minutes into the game, but he was already panting with his hands around his knees. The back has long been wet with sweat. The shirt on his body is green and black, which looks very embarrassing. The 187cm tall Fofana was a few centimeters shorter than Rona, but his weight was more than 10 kilograms different. This put him in a complete downside in his confrontation with Ronaldo. So did his partner, French veteran Conger. He was 190 centimeters tall, the same height as Ronaldo, but the difference in weight between the two was 12 kilograms. This left him to use his experience to defend Ronaldo. Fortunately, both men have good headers and frontal defensive abilities. Otherwise, Toulouse would have lost the ball. And even now, they feel it was only a matter of time before Toulouse conceded the goal. Hell it. This kid came out of there. In the dugout, Toulouse coach Casanova cursed in a low voice. Later, this phrase became the mantra of all the team managers who played against Ronaldo. Paris Saint, who played away from home, were stunned and faced more than 30,000 Toulouse fans. It stands to reason that this should be Toulouse's huge home field advantage. The whole stadium was full of people who supported them, cheers that supported them. But now, Toulouse fans can take care of that. They're still worried about the team's defense. Every time Paris Saint-Germain passes the ball into the box, they let out an exclamation. I was afraid that my goal would be opened in this time. Who is that number 69? His bounce and height are outstanding, and his header is so good. It's just unreasonable. There are also some fans who pay more attention to the news of other teams in Ligue 1. Hey, you know what? This kid scored in the last game and is said to be making his career debut. It's really enviable. When will our youth team be able to produce such players? For most of this game so far, football has been flying in the sky. Not pretty. I don't think that's what the crowd wants to see, the local TV commentator complained. But he is sour grape mentality, because the team he supports has no advantage in such aerial tactics and can only be passively beaten. He was complaining when he saw a pass from the back in Paris. Ronaldo retreated to the top of the penalty area and crossed the ball to the wing. Mine was about to go to the middle, causing Toulouse defender Cyrex to deflect his center of gravity there. Immediately after, he took the ball in the direction of the bottom line. Breakthrough. Stop his breakthrough. The commentator shouted, bringing himself into the role of head coach. Mine's speed is fast. He didn't hide his intentions either. After a slight angle, he decisively crossed with his foot. To say that a center forward has such a ferocious heading ability is indeed a headache for defenders. Because this is not outside the restricted area, you can't fight and drag it with your hands, or just go up and drag it down with both hands. What do you dare to do in the box? Just wait for a penalty. When I saw Ronaldo jump, the Toulouse fans in the stands and Casanova, the head coach in the home dugout, were worried again. At this moment, they can't wait to come to a bottle of quick-acting heart-saving pills. Fana and Conger sandwiched the Ronaldo bag in the middle. But the highest jump is still Ronaldo. Fana leaned back and pressed his weight on Ronaldo's body. Conger, on the other hand, has a very hidden pulling action. Ronaldo did suffer, he lost his balance in the air and leaned back to fall. But in this case, he still put his head on the ball and threw it towards the goal. The goalkeeper made a wonderful save at this critical moment. He gently pounced the ball with one palm and pulled it away. Good. The commentator didn't even have time to finish speaking, when he saw a royal blue figure flash in front of the door. Pastor. Facing this ball saved by the goalkeeper, Pastore lightly headed the ball. Empty doors. The ball went in. Ah. The ball went in. The narrator slapped the table in annoyance, but the work still had to be done. He routinely shouted and stopped cheering for his opponents, blaming his own backline. In the case of the double bag, the two central defenders still did not stop the number 69 of the other party. This is really undeserved. In fact, the commentator had wronged two of Toulouse's centre-backs. They did everything they could. How? Ronaldo, who has pointed the air lord's skill to the third level, is like a real overlord in the air. No one to be. They're not world-class centre-backs either. It's normal to lose. Episode 46 is simple and crude. The Toulouse Municipal Stadium went quiet. 36th minute of the first half. Pastore scored the first goal of the game with a penalty grab in front of goal. Although this ball was not scored by Ronaldo, this ball is inseparable from him. After landing from the air, Ronaldo saw the ball go in. Immediately after, Pastore pounced. Oh, carrying Pastore up, Ronaldo shouted. Other teammates flocked to the scene. They will not forget who also has credit for this ball, and after combining Pastor, everyone also praised Ronaldo's performance. With 2 center-backs in the bag, you can still put the top of the ball into the goal, it's really too much. If it were me, I might not have rushed forward. I didn't expect you to actually hit the ball, the double bag clip can't stop you anymore. After celebrating the goal, they came to pat Ronaldo on the head and mess up his hairstyle. With this goal, Paris Saint-Germain temporarily led away at the end of the first half thanks to Pastor's goal. After the whistle blew at the end of the first half, Combuer applauded the players off the pitch. And Casanova has long walked into the players' tunnel with a gloomy face. He has to figure out how to deal with Ronaldo. Otherwise, he felt that he would have to concede the goal in the second half. However, Casanova thought for a long time and did not come up with any good ideas. He specifically asked the 2 center-backs how they felt while defending Ronaldo. Their answer was very tricky. He has height, he has weight, and he has accurate judgment of the landing point of the high ball, and it is easy for him to get stuck in position. Moreover, his explosiveness is so strong, even if the position is not stuck, he jumps higher than us, and his heading technique is very good. After Casanova listened, he also scratched his head. It seems that if you want to directly block Ronaldo, it is impossible to rely on your 2 central defenders. You can only start from the side. However, Paris Saint-Germain's wing is mean. That's mean, known as one of the 4 little swans of France. The ability to break through is quite sharp. Moreover, the fullback who is with him on this side is Maxwell, who is also a fullback with the ability to break through. The 2 matched, just the left side of Paris made themselves very uncomfortable. On the other side, Brazilian veteran Nene and fullback Galette. Although both are older, they are very experienced. As soon as you have the opportunity, you can immediately pass a very beautiful cross. It's hard to entangle on both sides. When Casanova thought about it, he felt that it was simply heaven is going to kill me. His team was restrained to death by Paris Saint-Germain's tactics. And the source of all this is Ronaldo. If Ronaldo's header wasn't so awesome, Toulouse won't play so passively either. Unexpectedly, this big man with poor technology under his feet that he was unable to complain about now actually gave himself such a headache. While Casanova frowned, Paris manager Combuer is quite excited. He put himself in Casanova's position and also found it difficult to limit the Paris offensive. This game, if nothing else, is basically stable. And all this was brought by Ronaldo. Starting Ronaldo is perhaps the most correct decision he made this season. Once the team wins 2 in a row, the gloom of a 2-round winless start of the season will basically dissipate. Now that the season has just passed, Combuer rarely looks at the standings, but he also knows that winning this game and getting 7 points from 4 league games will bring the team a little closer to the top of the table. Moreover, he also saw a direction to build the team system completely. The attack up front revolved around Mean and Pastor's breakout ability, as well as Ronaldo's header advantage. In this case, in League 1, it is basically difficult for a team to stop it. Wait until Kevin Gameiro comes back. Combuer has already begun to think about the possibility of Kevin Gameiro and Ronaldo playing as a double center forward. We're going to keep fighting like this. Keep up with our air superiority, face the players in the dressing room. Combuer swore an oath. This sentence also basically established Ronaldo's tactical position in the team. Unless one day, this set of tactics is contained. Otherwise, Combuer would probably insist on such a dismissal. Now don't worry about Ronaldo not being able to play. In this case, he is afraid that he will start every game. As long as he doesn't get injured, or get a red card suspension or something. Ronaldo was also happy. The manager said this, indicating that he will have more chances to touch the ball in the second half, and the probability of scoring is greatly increased. He patted the top of his head and shouted at him, "In the second half, everyone passed the ball over my head." His teammates were amused by him. Ronaldo is really a guy who gets along with the new team. His personality is lively and cheerful, and he has the unique closeness of an 18-year-old boy. Not like some people. He is not old, but he has a lot of thoughts, and the city is extremely deep, and he looks old-fashioned. Ronaldo is a little scheming at times, but overall, he is still very sunny. In the arrogance, it reveals cuteness and frankness. This makes people feel that contact with him is not a very tiring thing, but very relaxing. This is also the reason why he is more popular within the team than Barrow. Barrow had a bitter face all day, a bitter hatred, and a sense of frustration that he could not play in Paris as a France international. The more it turned out, the less progress he made into the team. So, sometimes, it's better to be simple and rough. Episode 47, 2 games and 2 goals. After the start of the second half of the game, Paris Saint-Germain's tactics remain the same, and they continue to implement the tactic of holding high and playing, that is, simply and rudely passing the ball over Ronaldo's head. And Toulouse? Obviously, they didn't find a good way to do this trick with PSG. Casanova is not a mediocre and incompetent manager. But who made the current set of tactics work perfectly for PSG? Mean has the ability to break through, and Pastore can also pull into the wing to break through if necessary. Matuidi and Sissoko blocked the second drop point in midfield, allowing attackers up front and even two fullbacks to press up and make crosses. Of course, the core is Ronaldo up front. His huge size, like a beacon, points the way in which all Paris Saint-Germain players pass the ball. No matter where the pass starts, the destination is Ronaldo's head. Even goalkeeper Sirigu can easily see Ronaldo's position up front and pass the ball with his big foot. Even the goalkeeper's big foot, Ronaldo can fight for it, take the ball, give it to his teammates, and then insert himself into the box and receive the header. As long as he jumps in the box, it always scares Toulouse's supporters. If he's shaking his head and pushing the ball against the goal. Many fans of Toulouse, who are a little more timid, simply closed their eyes and did not dare to look. Paris Saint-Germain's dismissal is too simple and rude, too unaesthetic. Their lineup is still the most expensive team in Ligue 1, and they actually play such a game that violates football. The commentators on Toulouse's local television station could only constantly lash out at Paris Saint-Germain's style of football to regain a bit of balance and self-respect. However, no matter how good the mouth cannon is, it is impossible to help the team win. The 66th minute of the game. Maxwell broke the ball off the feet of the Toulouse player, and he immediately got up and waded forward. After Mean pulled to the middle and brought out the gap on the wing, Maxwell strode into the meteor and killed directly to the bottom line. His purpose is also obvious, that is, to run for the bottom cross. This time, however, he was helped. Toulouse's side also knows that if Paris Saint-Germain is allowed to cross unbridled, the back line will be too tight. When approaching the opponent's 30-meter area, Maxwell was entangled by one of the opposing defenders and slowed down. This time, however, he passed the ball to Ronaldo, who was receiving in the middle of the retreat. The two sat down on a very wonderful 2-over-1 cooperation. Maxwell passed the ball to Ronaldo. This time, Ronaldo did not turn around and break through after taking the ball, or protect the ball and then give it to others, but stopped the ball, leaned on the opposing player, and turned to look at Maxwell. Sidewalk. Obvious gap. Ronaldo was tall, allowing him to see further. On the pitch, taller players can see something clearer than shorter players. This is his own talent. Ronaldo leaned on the defender and turned to pass the ball. The football passed through a narrow gap. After passing the request, Ronaldo didn't care to see if Maxwell received the ball, he directly turned around and inserted into the box at high speed. No matter how fast people run, they are not as fast as the ball. If you want to be in the box when Maxwell crosses, you have to be fast. Ronaldo strode forward with his head buried and rushed forward. Old Laville received the ball near the corner area. He was going to wait, but where did he think? As soon as he looked up, he saw that Ronaldo had rushed into the box and arrived near the penalty spot. If you don't pass the ball, you won't have a chance. He quickly passed the ball out. Ronaldo rushed into the box as fast as he could, and at the same time, Maxwell's pass also came. He jumped straight up in a high-speed sprint without even adjusting his pace. Because the timing of the pass and the run, just right. Toulouse's two defenders were supposed to be waiting in the small penalty area, but Ronaldo did not expect Ronaldo to jump after an arrow on the penalty spot. For a moment, they couldn't react. In this way, they looked up at Ronaldo flying in the air, high above. Then, head to the top. The feeling of not having opponents makes Ronaldo feel great. The air was blowing through his hair, and his eyes were always fixed on the incoming ball when he reached the most suitable point. He didn't exert any strength, but followed the momentum of his own sprint and jumped up and hit the football. Such a header. Such an attack. No suspense. Flew into the goal. On the bench of Paris Saint-Germain, a roar erupted in cheers. This cheer was particularly abrupt in the dead silence of the Toulouse Municipal Stadium. They were joined by hundreds of Parisian fans who came to the away stadium. Fantastic. Well done. Ariela on the bench clapped vigorously and whistled at the field. 2 consecutive league games have scored, counting the Europa League playoffs, 3 consecutive official matches. Ronaldo was shocked by 6 requests. The beginning of Ronaldo's career was simply perfect. After the goal, Ronaldo rushed to the corner and gave Maxwell, who gave him a pass, a big hug. Good pass. Ronaldo yelled. He wasn't surprised that he was able to score, he took it for granted, he was in good shape, the opponent was completely restrained in this game, and the tactics were so right, it was strange not to score. Paris Saint-Germain players were frantically celebrating their second goal. Toulouse's supporters are lamenting. It's over, it's over. The game was lost. I just remember the number 69 jumping up and pushing the ball away at our center-back. It's terrible, the defense is terrible. 2 balls behind, if you don't limit the big guy, you don't have to chase it. The commentator on the local Toulouse TV was also shaking his head. Paris Saint-Germain's high-altitude tactics completely limit us. I don't see any hope of winning. He was right. In this game, thanks to the goals of Ronaldo and Pastor, Paris Saint-Germain won 2-0 away and won 2 consecutive league games. Ronaldo was substituted in the 80th minute of the game, and that was his only regret. He still didn't get to play the full game. Episode 48. After the away game against Toulouse. The team did not stay overnight in Toulouse, but took a flight back to Paris that night. This is mainly because the team faces the second leg of the Europa League qualifying round right after 3 days of the match. Although the first leg won 5-0 against the opponent. But this is an official game after all. In this match, Combuer used a large number of substitutes and youth team players. Ronaldo's friend in the youth team, Kimpembe, also got a chance to play in this game. In the end, Paris beat Diver 2-1 at home and entered the Europa League main draw with an aggregate score of 7-1. And the Europa League qualifying round is the day after all the matches are over. UEFA officials also immediately held a Europa League draw. Ronaldo is still quite concerned about the Europa League draw. After all, the Europa League is also a European competition, and some matches do not have to be higher than Ligue 1 Lindsay, but if you can reach the knockout round, you will have the opportunity to play some continental giants. In the end, Paris Saint-Germain was placed in Group F. Their opponents are La Liga powerhouse Athletic Bilbao, Austrian giants Salzburg and Czech giants Bratislava. This grouping is not too bad for Paris Saint-Germain, and of course, it is not much better to say good. Those big teams in Central Europe, although they are now incomparable with those strong teams in the 5 major leagues. However, they are not a fish-belly team that can be kneaded at will. Many of the giants of the 5 major leagues have been defeated by the giants of these small leagues. So, when it came to getting this draw, the media in Paris didn't react much. This can only be regarded as a decent draw. The opponent is not weak, not too strong. Within France, Ronaldo's fame is getting louder and louder. He is getting more and more media attention and is being discussed. There are also quite a few professional football journalists in France, all of whom have watched Ronaldo live matches. Started 2 consecutive games and scored in 2 consecutive games. This shows that Ronaldo is not a luck. He really has real material. These journalists are professional journalists who have covered football for many years, and they have seen countless short-lived so-called rising stars, as well as those old and strong people. So they can tell what type of player Ronaldo is. He started 2 consecutive games with goals, both of which were key goals. That's all, just look at his performance against Toulouse. Ronaldo almost dominates the skies of the Toulouse Municipal Stadium. He won almost all the scramble for aerial balls. Toulouse's defenders could only watch as Ronaldo wreaked havoc over their heads. The goal scored by Pastor speaks for itself. Ronaldo was caught between 2 defenders of the opposing team. Caught by a double bag, the average person may not even be able to jump. But the result? Ronaldo forced the ball against the goal in the case of a double pocket, forcing the goalkeeper to make a save, which gave Pastore the opportunity to fill the empty goal. So, any football journalist who watched this game understood Ronaldo's strength, and what he means to this Paris Saint-Germain. Or rather, the meaning of Combuer. Paris Saint-Germain started the season without a win in 2 rounds amid crazy signings in the summer transfer window. This is definitely a shake on Combuer's coaching position. After all, there have long been rumors that Leonardo, the current executive head of Paris Saint-Germain, has been looking for a big-name coach who is worthy Paris Saint-Germain. Combuer's credentials in France are not bad. But obviously, he's not a big name. So, if the team doesn't do well, he can be fired at any time. And the victories of these 2 games can undoubtedly bring a sigh of relief to Combuer and his coaching team. And the key to this is the activation of Ronaldo. Ronaldo's 2 starts, 2 wins. And more importantly, Ronaldo was promoted to the first team and gave him the opportunity to prove himself. It is a concubine of Combuer. With such a strong center-forward to support him, his work at Paris Saint-Germain would be much easier. Even Kevin Gamero, after returning from injury, may have to compete with Ronaldo. Ronaldo is his own concubine, and Kevin Gamero is a star bought from outside. Who supports themselves more, you can imagine. Therefore, Kevin Gamero, who is recovering from injury at the moment, also knows that as long as Ronaldo's state is not bad, I am afraid that in the position of the main center, Ronaldo will sit steadily. So, during this time, in the city of Paris, Ronaldo became the center of attention. Since it is the focus, it must be hot. And just the day after the Europa League draw, an article published in Le Sport de Paris was heavily reprinted on social media. With a behind-the-box tactic and a center-forward who can only head the ball, PSG is not destined to go far. Episode 49, Outdated Strikers? Him. Ronaldo slammed the newspaper on the table. He also saw this article in the newspaper. In this article, the journalist, Baptiste Ripart, described Ronaldo as a striker who can only head and will soon become popular. Admittedly, this celestial empire player named Ronaldo has incredible physicality and heading ability, but what about his other aspects? I can responsibly say that it's nothing. Such a player, maybe 50 years ago, even 30 years ago, in those years when power forwards were popular, he would have become a world superstar. But don't forget, it's 2011, not 1980, and modern football requires more than just heading goals. Modern football requires more runs, faster tempo, and tears the defense through the passing of the ground. This is advanced football tactics. At this point in modern time, it is a fool's dream to think about winning a championship by relying on a header. Camber's side may win a game or two, but in the long run, Paris Saint-Germain won't win anything by relying on an outdated striker like Ronaldo. When Ronaldo saw this article, he was simply furious. What he does best is headers. But this article says what he does best. He was even described as an outdated striker. Ronaldo doesn't know what advanced football tactics are, but he understands that scoring goals is the best way to win a game. Football tactics are advanced or not, as long as you can score goals. If this article had been written by some small self-media, Ronaldo might not have been angry. But the journalist, whose name is Baptiste, is a very influential figure in French football media. Many football coaches, agents, and even players have a close relationship with him. Such a person, in his own column, said that Ronaldo is an outdated striker. It can be said that in the French praise of Ronaldo, it seems very eye-catching. However, due to the status of this person, many people's first reaction after seeing it is to think deeply. And then they all felt that Baptiste Ripart was right. Baptiste Ripart is indeed true. After all, he is a well-known French journalist in football. Such a person will naturally justify himself, making people think that there is nothing wrong with what he said. Football tactics are naturally constantly moving forward. The original football was actually very rough. It's a game where a group of people run after a ball. Later, he slowly developed football tactics and began to have a difference in position on the field. The initial position was just a defender and an attacker, and there was a classic MW formation, which was 5 defensive and 5 attacked. The line between offensive and defensive player points is very clear. Moreover, they are all long pass rushing and holding up Gundam. After more than 100 years of development, football has slowly developed into what it is now. Long pass, high ball. These things are indeed very old, and have been around since the birth of modern football. If you have to find the most primitive tactics for football, long pass rushing may be one of them. Therefore, Baptiste Ripart said that relying on headers is a primitive tactic and there is really nothing wrong with it. But are primitive tactics necessarily useless? Not necessarily. Ronaldo squinted. He knew he had to respond. Because, at this stage, the header is the foundation of your own existence. He had to let that Baptiste Ripart and those in the French media circles know. Even though you all know, I only head the ball. But you can't help it. Ronaldo said viciously in his heart. Ding. Get a task, break the media's doubt, in the next game, hit the media's questioning with an excellent performance. Mission reward, depending on the competition, the better the performance, the greater the reward. When he heard about this task, Ronaldo was slightly stunned. If it is a general task, there is no voice reminder. So, this task must be special. He hurried into the system. This task, there is a chance to get skill rewards. Xiao Luo explained. Ronaldo was slightly stunned. Get skill rewards. Other words. If you can get a skill reward, it basically means that you have a level of upgrade experience. This task must be completed. As for performance, Ronaldo thought about it and soon knew how to do it. Himself a striker, of course. The more goals you score, the better you perform. Episode 50, Ronaldo versus the uncrowned king. The task of gaining skills, Ronaldo of course attaches great importance to it. First, he took a look at his opponent in the next round. Paris Saint-Germain are still playing at home against Ligue 1 side Brest. It's not a big team. Of course, Ronaldo did not underestimate the enemy. At the end of the day's training, he found a few teammates who played with him. In fact, it was the same few who went out to nightclubs together last time. Isn't the most ironclad thing about what carries a gun together and floats over together? Moreover, Ronaldo also knows that without the help of his teammates, it may not be easy to score more goals in a game. In Ronaldo's dormitory, Ronaldo briefly told a few friends about his situation. Brothers, I need your help. Ronaldo said as he put the report on the table. In the next game, I'm going to score as many goals as I can and punch this damn guy in the face. After the game, let's go to the Rose Covenant. I please, Ronaldo is open-minded. Rose Covenant is a very upscale nightclub, a little more expensive than the one they went to last time. Ronaldo's job for a few weeks was probably enough to splurge on that nightclub once or twice. But Ronaldo didn't care. Because he knows that as long as he can keep scoring, sooner or later wages will rise. At that time, I am afraid that there will be a huge signing fee. Moreover, the more you can score goals, the more money you will have. Ronaldo had already secretly made a calculation. He has only signed a one-year contract with Paris, and if Paris is not satisfied with the conditions, with his performance this season, he can also transfer to other teams. He is not a diehard fan of Paris for 30 years. That team gives more money, he will go. What is the purpose of kicking? Isn't it just for the money? Ronaldo is well aware that a player's golden period is actually a dozen years at most. In the past 10 years, it is necessary to earn enough money to spend for a lifetime. It's actually not easy. Your career must not be easily chewed. Nothing to say, I absolutely support you. Mean patted Ronaldo's shoulder and said. Me too. Pastore also took a stand. I can only support it mentally. Areola said helplessly, as a substitute goalkeeper, he can basically only sit on top of the bench and watch the play. Come on, Luo. The crowd expressed their support for Ronaldo. Ronaldo was overwhelmed. I didn't expect that my popularity in the team was still okay. With the support of several strong teammates up front, he is even more confident in accomplishing this task. Cambert was unaware of Ronaldo's private schemes. If he knew that his disciples were secretly involved in this kind of thing, I am afraid that he would be furious. How to play on the field? How could an 18-year-old young player like Ronaldo easily ignore his beak? However, Ronaldo did just that. I have to say that this guy is really a newborn calf and is not afraid of tigers. On match day, when Cambert announced the starting lineup, Ronaldo was selected without any suspense. It is impossible for Cambert to break the team's current good situation and change the pace of the team at will. After all, it's in a state of constant winning. When Ronaldo got off the bus with his teammates, there was already a lot of media gathering on both sides of the street. When these media saw Ronaldo come out, they rushed up. Click. The sound of the shutter constantly pressing and the diffuser light are intertwined. Ronaldo was accustomed to such battles, and he calmly walked along the narrow passage, ignoring the countless microphones that poured in front of him. Mr. Rippard said you are an outdated striker, do you have any opinions? This is clearly provocative. The reporter also had a mocking smile on his face. No matter how Ronaldo answered, he had something to say. And, if it can anger Ronaldo, it's bigger news. This is a trick that these journalists are familiar with. The team's vice-captain, Galette, was worried that Ronaldo was young and vigorous, and hurriedly held Ronaldo down and told him to leave here quickly. Don't talk to them about this kind of thing, or you won't know how to get trapped. Of course he knows what the virtues of journalists are, and if you say a word, they can twist you into another form and attack you on the position they are good at. These people have a voice. After all, the power of the pen is also great. An ordinary player who wants to fight with these media does not even have the possibility of returning the mouth. So Garrett hurried to let Ronaldo go. He knew that Ronaldo was an inexperienced young man. If you are deceived into full carbon by the media, it will be miserable. He didn't want Ronaldo to affect the team's form because of off-field factors. Ronaldo was unwilling to be pulled away like this, and the reporters were still shouting at him, you can only head the ball, sooner or later you will get into trouble. You're just a flash in the pan. Ronaldo stood still, so that Garrett could not pull him in any way. Ronaldo raised his finger and pointed at the journalists who exchanged, obsolete striker? Today, I will show you how the outdated strikers score. Saying that, without waiting for Garrett, he turned directly and walked into the passage. A group of journalists looked at each other, not understanding what was going on. Let's be honest. The media has the title of uncrowned king. These journalists are extremely proud of the title. They feel that with this title, they can be the real king, and they can point fingers at others and criticize them. They didn't expect that an 18-year-old little hairy child would dare to contradict these uncrowned kings of them. Are children so crazy now? After a reporter reflected, he complained. Hee, it's so arrogant after scoring a few goals, and when everyone understands his routine, I don't know what it will become. Today's young people don't know how to respect people at all. He can't succeed, such a character, a young man who doesn't know what modesty is, even if he has talent, he can't succeed. An old reporter, who was very experienced at first glance, smiled contemptuously, and drew conclusions with an expression that Lao Tzu had seen more